Hello and welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial. We're going to be making the second location in our short film, bringing a bunch of assets together to create a dump. Let's do it. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're going to be taking all the different assets we've been building slowly over the course of this series, and we're going to bring them together to make the arguably the most complex location in our short film, which is the dump, the under basement area where our hero falls. We've got the conveyor belt. We're going to make the smasher thing and get all the rubbish in place and try and set it all up in a way that will function really good for us as a scene. So first thing we want to do is we want to actually go into our assets that we're going to be importing in. So kind of the theme of this tutorial today is how do you take, when you make a bunch of different separate things, how do we bring them together? Firstly, let's go ahead. We're going to open up one of the files. So I'm going to open up my file for the dumpster. Or for the dump, the rubbish. Here we go. This is the trash heap project file that I've got. And I need to first kind of organize this a little bit differently. So I've got it set up right now. So it's got this nice composition and it's going to be good for like a render, that I can, show off with whatever. But I don't want this for actual production. So I'm gonna get rid of these mounds and I'm gonna zero this one out. So make sure it's right in the center of my scene. So there we go. Yep. So this plane is right in the center of my scene. Now, what's important about this particular thing? Like, what's the thing that I want to be importing? Well, I want to import all the rubbish, so everything in the rubbish collection that we've made up here. And I want this geometry node system as well. Now, probably the best thing to do is to use this plane as sort of the thing that will bring all of this stuff in. So I'm going to rename the plane here. I'm going to call this rubbish pile. And we've also named our geometry nodes object rubbish pile as well here. So it's all really clear. I'm going to get rid of my sun lamps. I'll delete those. And I'm going to take this collection here and I'm going to rename this rubbish pile. Now, I'm also going to do one more thing. Now, this is really helpful when you're trying to bring in a lot of stuff from other places. When you try and append in or link in another blend file, sometimes it's a bit confusing to know which collection is the correct one, because you might have a lot of collections in your scene. And you want to bring in a collection that's going to actually give you what you want. So I like to label my collection. So I'm going to put 2 dashes and then this little arrow bracket to just signify for myself when I'm going to import, this is the one I want to be bringing in. This little shorthand is really helpful. I find it really, really useful on large projects when you have lots of people collaborating. So if you have multiple collections, when we come in, we're going to know this is the correct one. This is the one that if I import this, it's going to bring me everything that's important. So I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to create a new project file. And this is going to be my location file for the trash heap location. So I'll go ahead and save this, save as, and I will navigate to my folder. Now I've got this folder here called locations, so 030 locations. And I've already set up a folder here called dump, and that's where I'll put this. And I'll create a working folder. So I'll create a new folder here, right click, and I'll type working. This will be where I put the different versions. So I'll come in here and I'll call this dump underscore maybe location, just so it's really clear, and underscore V01. And I will save as, and I will get started. Okay, so we're gonna bring in the conveyor belt first. So we're gonna file, and we want to import it into our scene, but we're not gonna use the import button. It's a bit deceptive. You can see there's no option for a Blender file. If you wanna import a Blender file into your current Blender file, you actually need to use append. So we're gonna go append. And we need to navigate to the conveyor belt. So I'm gonna go into the props folder, conveyor belt folder, and I'll grab the master version here. And I will append it in, and it opens up the scene file, and you have all the different things you have inside that blend file. I'm going to go to the collection folder, and there's the one that I've marked with the double arrow there. And so I can append, and now we have the conveyor belt in. Now, because we're doing append, this now lives in this scene. It's no longer referencing the original thing, so whatever we do in that original file won't update here, okay? But that's all right. We don't need to worry about that for this kind of a setup. Now I'm going to go ahead and take these guys and think about how I want to do this. I might try using an array object to create the conveyor belt, like to stretch out the conveyor belt into the distance. So I'm going to add a modifier here to each of these objects. I'm going to add one to the conveyor belt. So I'll add modifier array, something like that I think looks pretty good. So copy that, and we'll do the same for this. Turn off relative, turn on constant. And we'll paste that distance. Now let's go ahead and create a base floor for this location. And I'll just shift a mesh plane, and I'll just scale this up a bit. I'll make sure it's sitting right at 0, 0, which it is. I'll drag this plane out of that collection as well. And I'll grab them up on the Z. Now, the idea with this location is it's all going to kind of fall off into darkness. So let's see, I might scale this on the Y, bring it down a little bit. I also kind of want it to be a bit of a narrow space. And we're going to have this like big pile of trash that leads up to a skylight up here. So let's go ahead and bring in our rubbish into the scene. So I'm going to go File, Append once again. And I'll just head up to my trash heap folder, grab trash heap, click Append, go into collection, and grab the rubbish pile, which is what I want. And append that, and there it is. See, it all comes in. Now, what I can do with my rubbish, go ahead and turn off that collection, because remember, that's just the particles that we're sourcing for the pile itself. And now I've got this object, which I can scale up till it looks right. It's going to kind of be an appropriate size for this. And I think that looks pretty good. Now let's position this right here. Might do a little bit of overlap. Go in edit mode and make sure I've got the top vertex selected, which I do already, but I can hide my geonodes just to make sure. Yep. And I'm going to grab this, turn on proportional editing, and then roll my mouse wheel to get that little circle. And I will just break this thing up. And then I'll grab these guys here. This, holding down Alt, I'm also holding down Shift so that I'm adding to my selection. And now I'm going to hit E to extrude, grab Z, turn off proportion, grab Z, scale these guys out. You can also double tap G and that will slide them along. So I'll hit E one more time, scale this out, grab Z, scale Z, and I'll just scale it all the way down so it's perfectly flat. Now you can notice if I turn on geometry nodes, it's going to propagate across this entire surface. All right, so let's make a few more of these piles and line the walls of our scene with it. And I might take this one, go into edit mode, editing once again, and grab Z. Turn off portion, scale on the X, kind of drag it out like that. Now I'm doing this in edit mode so that it doesn't like also scale the rubbish. If I scale it here, it's going to scale all that rubbish out on the X and elongate it, which I don't want. All right, now let's start thinking about how we're going to light this, because we want to have this like whole environment be really dark. I might create a camera for this so we can look at it through a camera. And I'll come over to my render tab with the camera, and I'm going to take the, so to see 1920 by 1080, I'm going to go 1080 times 2.35. It'll give me the 235 aspect ratio, and I can pop into the camera, pop this out, go to view, and lock camera to view. Pull this out and have a look at the set. I'll set this focal length to something a bit wider, and I'm going to turn up passport 2. So I'm going to go to viewport display, passport 2, and turn that right out. Now I'm going to turn off my lock camera to view. Really great thing is if you right click and assign to quick favorites right here, if you hit Q, you'll get it. So anything you assign to that quick favorites menu, you can easily access. All right, let's have a look at this rendered and let's start applying things. So I want to take this floor and let's see, I'll just pick one of these. I'll do a dark one. I'm going to take my background, I'm going to drop it to black, and I will take this sun lamp. So I might want to use an area light instead. Turn it up to something like 1,000. I'm kind of thinking what I want to do is Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, mesh plane, right? And then on this plane, create a material and give it an emission and turn it up to like 10 or something. And we'll go ahead and go to render settings here. I'm trying ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. And you see what that does is it's going to give us this like doorway. Like if you're down low, you can't tell that it's not actually in a roof. We need to make it big enough for our little guy to fit through. But that's going to be the thing that opens up. And we'll put this light near it. I might shrink this one down and then Shift D to duplicate, grab Z, drop this down a little bit lower, and then make one that's really big. That way I can have like the smaller texture here, and then the ground can be really large. Okay, then we're going to have this other thing here, which is going to be the trash compactor. And that's going to be casting a strong light source this way into our film. So I'm going to Shift A, mesh cube for now. And then I want to put I'm going to go for another area light. And I'll turn the power of this one up to like 1,000. Make it red. Rotate Y 90 degrees. Grab X, line it up. This guy, red glow going on here. So we get close to that compactor. Now in this world shader, I'm going to go over to my shader editor. And I'll switch to the world shader. And I want to create some volume in this space. So there's a bit of haze. Now I'm going to go to volume scatter node and I'll drop that into the volume and everything will disappear because we've got way too much density. So I'll turn this down to like 0.01. And then I'll take the anisotropy and I'll just play with it. A bit of haze is going to be really important for our scene, because this looks quite nice having this haze. I might bring a bit of color into this as well. Just a little bit. Don't like to have lights be pure white. And let's get right down into the scene. Jump back into my camera, lock my camera to view, and I'm going to put the camera right on this conveyor belt and have a look at what this is looking like as a location, because we're going to be shooting kind of down inside it, right? Now I need to be able to shoot up and see that exit. I'd like to be able to see the exit and see some of the conveyor belt. So this is probably too big. So let's go ahead and go into edit mode, scale Z, bring it down, grab Z like that. And let's grab both of these guys and grab Z and bring them down. All right, I'm going to turn this down. So it doesn't have to be this strong now because it's not that high up. Maybe we'll go to 3 or something. I think that'll work. Cursor to selected. I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to might just work with some point lights to start with. And turn their brightness up a bit. We could just scatter a few of these in here. Like if I go with the red color, I think that's going to look quite nice. I'm going to make this view a 3D viewport as well, so I can kind of see it as a shot. Turn off everything in that, and I'll take this and I will Shift D to duplicate and grab X, and I'll just kind of bring a few of these over. Let's see what happens if we kind of tuck them inside. Does that? Yeah, that's quite nice because then they're lighting that from the underneath side. So that's cool. Shift A, mesh plane, grab Z. I might just turn this off render view for now. Material view actually might be a nice speedy way of viewing it all. I'll scale this on the X, kind of center it up on the conveyor belt, put it right on the conveyor belt, intersect a little bit there. I'm going to apply the scale. So F3, apply scale. That will apply the scale that I just did. So now it'll be 1, 1, 1. So the scale's nice and even. And then what we can do is we can come to geometry nodes and we can assign rubbish pile to it. Actually, first we have to click new to put geometry nodes actually on it. And then we can assign rubbish pile. And now we're going to have rubbish automatically on this thing. But we want this to be a slightly different thing. So I'm going to click that to make a new geometry nodes object. And instead of rubbish pile, I'm going to rename this belt rubbish. Okay, and so now what we can do with this, I can make a few small changes. So one thing is I don't want to join the geometry. So I don't want to have the belt, that flat thing there, actually in the object. So I can get rid of that. And we can also affect the density a bit. Probably don't want it to be this dense. So I'll just bring that density down some. Now I can take this plane and scale it. Actually, I'll go into edit mode. Scale it on the Y. That will just narrow it up. That way they're not like sticking off the sides as bad. Now they look a bit too big as well. So I might drop that down to 1. I might want to take the rotations and just zero out those. All right, so I'll put it in the conveyor belt collection. And belt rubbish, I will parent to belt control. Control P. Parent is as I move it along the X. You can see that the belt is animating. And I'll probably also parent my my droid to the belt too, so I can just kind of keep it steadily moving. All right, last thing to think about is the smasher, which I don't really want to be a very complex object. I kind of want this to be a simple thing. So I'll just take this cube and we'll just model something real fast here. Go into edit mode, and I might make it like a really tall thing. Just make this really big, like that. Do a loop cut. I want the hatch to be for this. Think about like that. Another loop cut for the base of the conveyor belt, like where it comes up to it. You might want to have it below so we can actually stick it in. It's probably a good idea. Then we can grab the face mode here. Where are you? There you are. And I can hit I to inset, bring that in a little bit like so. E to extrude. Grab X, bring that through. I want this to kind of go all the way through, I think. So I think I'll delete that face and I will inset this as well a little bit and then delete that face. And then what I can do is hold down Alt, go to edge mode, hold down Alt, click that and grab Alt X and we'll pull this out. We're never going to see it from this side, so I might just bring it out like that. Okay, and then we can assign, we can let's put a bevel modifier onto this and drag the amount down, increase the segments up to like 2. And then let's pick one of our materials. Let's put maybe disc metal onto it. That looks pretty good. And then let's create the smasher. Bring this in so that it actually like the conveyor belt goes into it. Go into edit mode and I'll grab this face here and then I'll shift D to duplicate. And then I'll hit P, separate by selection, get out of edit mode, and then click here. And I've got this separate object that's just this one face. I can go into edit mode, A, and hit E to extrude and grab Z. This will be our smasher of edit mode. I'm going to bring it back a little bit. And I want to reverse the flow of these scratches. See how they're going horizontal? I want them to be up and down. Probably the easiest way, to be honest, is just to rotate this thing. So let's do that. We'll rotate on the Y. Rotate X 90 degrees. And then in edit mode, drag this out so it's flush. Then we can leave edit mode and we can grab Z to pull it up. And then I want to have like this kind of like glowing mouth, I think, of like red. It's kind of just back here. Like it's all just kind of getting sent to some kind of like oven of some kind. So what I might do, go into this object. I think I will. I'll close this opening. So I'll go to edge mode. And I'll hold out Alt, then I'll select that loop, hit F to fill. And with this polygon selected, I can come over here to materials, click the plus sign to add a new material, click new to create a new material. And then I can switch this from Principled BSDF to an emission shader. And I can change its color to something like a bright red. And then I can click assign and we'll assign it to this one face. And we can turn the strength up like so. Maybe go a bit orange. Actually, we'll go off this purest saturation a little bit so we can get some fall off to white. Wow, that looks nice. So when this thing smashes, see it's going to actually cut off the light, but it's going to get buggy when we get to that point. I think it's because the light is inside. So let's grab the smasher area light and grab it back so that it's not inside the object, but just outside of it there. Oh, of course, because now it's not going to. All right, so that means this bit, we need to grab X, pull this back so it's behind the light. So now this thing will go down and you get that nice light cut off. And then grab that, the smasher light. And what happens if we bring this down on the Z? We get it right in there. Yeah, that's going to give us really nice look. Now, one thing we don't have is any light in this area now, kind of helping to bring out this thing. So we will need to light that as well a little bit. So I might grab the smash area light, duplicate it, and grab this on the X, bring it forward. We're going to turn it down to maybe just 1,000 and grab it up on the Z and then rotate on the Y, rotate Y -90. So it's pointing down. And then I can bring this up and kind of find a good spot for it. I might turn the volume off for it. Now, if I take the size down to something like 0.01 as well, that'll make it a really pinpricky kind of light. Area lights have lots of fall off, so maybe this could be like a caution light, like up here. That actually kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I want to bring that light down just a little bit more, just so it shows up in our shots a bit easier. Come up here. What we're going to do is we're going to set 2 keyframes and get it feeling right. So I'll put the first keyframe, I'll have it up here. Come up and I'll set a location for the Z. So I'll right click and I'll insert single keyframe. That'll insert it for there. And then I'll come forward to like maybe frame 20, grab it down so that it's just touching the conveyor belt like so, and insert single keyframe. And then I want it to stay down there for a little bit. So maybe 10 frames. And then it'll go back up. And I want it to go up slower. So if we took 20 frames to come down, let's take maybe 30 frames to go back up. And I'm just going to take this keyframe and Shift D to duplicate and drag it over here. That will put it back into that same position. So now I've got this motion, right? I'm going to set my playback range to 60 so that I can just easily preview this. Oh, another cool thing you can do is P. That's just P. You can drag in, and that'll give you a preview range. That way you can keep the end of your scene wherever you want it. And then this preview range is a temporary thing, and then you can hit Alt-P to clear it, and that'll get rid of it, and then it'll go back to your original thing. So that's really useful to know. So I'm going to put this here, and I want it to be like, doom, so quicker. So let's come to that first keyframe and hit S to scale, and I'm just going to scale these keyframes down. I kind of like the second half, so I might bring this front bit down. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to come over here and go to the graph editor. This will allow me to look at the curves of this animation. I'm going to click on the Z location here just by opening this up. Hit A to select all and full stop on my keyboard just to zoom to it so that it fits it all into view. And I want this bit here. This is the handles for this motion, right? So you can see it slows down as it gets to here, but I don't want it to slow down. I kind of want it to kind of come to a hard stop. So I'll grab this keyframe and I'll hit S to scale and X to constrain it on the X, and I'll scale those handles right down. So that's. I could even try scaling this one up a bit so it's like it picks up speed. It's pretty good. Maybe scale this one up a touch. See, it's got a much punchier motion now. Now that we've done that, I can Alt-P to clear that preview range. So I'm going to click this here, and I'm going to go right-click on it. Oh, that's easy, yeah. So just right-click on that channel, the Z position, and we're going to go to extrapolation mode. And I want to go make cyclic. So I'm going to click that. And what it's going to do now is going to take all the keyframes that I've set for this, and it's going to just set them up so that they repeat indefinitely. So you can see I can just play this, and it's going to continue to go. Now I can just affect these keyframes, and it will affect that whole chain. So I could grab this and like move it around or whatever, and it's going to alter everything. So, all right, and there you have it. We've got the entire location set up and ready to go for our short film. Please hit that subscribe button and the like button, and leave me a comment as well. Let me know what you think of this series so far. Don't forget to check out the Patreon where you can get all the uncut live streams. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, have a fantastic week. See ya.